Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm not gonna talk about what I had for breakfast. Today I'm gonna go straight to the point, which is Portugal cheap homes. How to find a cheap property in Portugal online. I'm gonna break down this video in the following topics. The first one is how Portugal is divided and which regions we are going to cover in this video. Then we're gonna talk about differences in prices per square meter in different regions of Portugal. After that, we're gonna cover the best websites to find real estate in Portugal, and then we're gonna focus in one of them, which is Idealista. Idealista is my favorite website to find real estate in Portugal. I'm not sponsored by them, but you will understand why Idealista is one of the best options. We're also going to talk about mortgage for non-residents in Portugal. It is possible to get a mortgage in Portugal if you are a non-resident and you work in a different country. After that, I'll give you examples of cheap property in Portugal in different areas, houses or apartments, so you can have an idea of what to expect if you are considering buying cheap property in Portugal. Finally, the last topic of this video is getting a golden visa in Portugal, its advantages and disadvantages for real estate investors, and also the D7 visa option, which I have made already a video. You can go and watch that one, please. Okay, so before I start, I have to say this for the YouTube algorithm, like always. If you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos, book a consultation call with me. I'll be glad to help you structuring your immigration plan, and most importantly, subscribe! Let's start! First of all, let's talk a little bit about how Portugal is divided. There are two main regions, so to say. Continental Portugal and then the islands, the Archipelago of Azores and the Archipelago of Madeira. We're only going to cover the continental area of Portugal where the major cities are, like Lisbon, Porto and the Algarve region. Portugal is divided in 18 districts and 2 autonomous regions. The autonomous regions are the archipelagos, which we are not going to cover. The 18 districts cover all the area of continental Portugal with its major cities. There are 10 metropolitan areas in Portugal, which include Lisbon, Porto, Coimbra, Braga, Funchal, which is in the islands, and some others smaller cities and towns in Portugal. However, only Lisbon and Porto are actually large-sized cities in Portugal. So if you want to live the urban life, the cosmopolitan life, you only have 2 options in Portugal, which are Lisbon and Porto. Let's briefly talk about prices per square meter in Portugal, a topic I have already covered before in the previous video about retiring in Portugal. But anyway, it is always important to assess the prices per square meter if you want to invest in real estate in any country. Portugal, a small country with slightly more than 10 million inhabitants, actually has different prices. If you want to buy something in Lisbon or in the countryside, the prices per square meter are actually extremely different. The most expensive area to buy real estate in Portugal is the capital Lisbon and everything around it, for example like Cascais. As I said, the price differences between Lisbon and the other parts of the country are quite significant. In Lisbon you can find a lot of properties ranging from 4,000 to 5,000 euros per square meter, but in some cases they can go as high as 10,000 euros per square meter. Believe it or not, there are listings on that price range. Then second largest city is Porto, also the second place in terms of property prices. The differences between Lisbon and Porto are also quite significant, and you can get much cheaper properties in Porto, around 2,000 or 2,500 euros per square meter. That's the average for Porto. If you go anywhere beyond Lisbon and Porto, cities like Coimbra, Braga, Aveiro, anywhere else, you can find cheaper properties. And also if you go to the countryside closer to the Spanish border, for example, you can find extremely cheap properties even with prices below 500 euros per square meter. I'm talking here about a house with electricity, water in decent conditions for you to reside in. Now let's talk about the best websites if you want to buy a property in Portugal. The first one I'm going to talk about is also the oldest in the market, which is casa.sapo.pt. You have the URL on the video. Sapo.pt is one of the oldest portals in Portugal, web portals so to say, and you can find many things there, including a section dedicated to real estate, which is that one. Then we have olx.pt, which is a global brand. They operate in many countries such as Romania, Brazil. I believe they are in also Bosnia and Herzegovina. They are actually in many countries. You can buy and sell all kinds of stuff there. but they also have a pretty strong presence in Portugal with many properties listed for sale and also for rent. And finally, we're going to talk about the Idealista. Idealista is also an international company. They are pretty strong in Southern Europe. You can also find their Spanish website and also Italian website, and they are also pretty strong in Portugal. In Idealista, you can find many important tools if you want to buy property in Portugal, including a mortgage calculator. And in Portugal, as I said before, non-residents can obtain a mortgage if they can prove they have income in the country in which they reside. So let's go check some cheap property in Portugal, some examples I gathered for this video on Idealista. Let's go. So here's the first example, a small studio in Albufeira, which is in the Algarve region. 85,000 euros, 48 square meters. There are 5 photos. Looks like a pretty good place, in a decent condition. And it says here somewhere that it has a license. Let me see in Portuguese. Licença de habitação turística, which means basically that you can rent it in websites like Airbnb, as far as I understand this, which can be a good option if you want to invest and not actually use it all year round. You can probably make some money out of this property. Okay, let's go to the second example then. Here we have our second example, which is a house in the Coimbra region. Let's see exactly where that is. It is not actually in the city, but a little bit south from Coimbra, which is here. Not that bad, but not that good in terms of location. Anyways, you won't be very far from Coimbra if you ever need to go to the city. The quality and the conditions of this property seem quite good. It has a nice view, as you can see. Some parts of it seem to be that they require some improvements, probably, like this. Especially this one. And this one definitely needs some overhauling. Nice garden also. And a lot of space. So, thing is here that this property costs 49,000 euros with 136 square meters of built area. So that's a very, very inexpensive price per square meter. I think it says here somewhere the price per square meter. I'm not really sure if I can find it now, but it is quite inexpensive if you want to move to Portugal and stay there, or use this house as a seasonal home or a holiday home. Anyway, let's go to the next example. Here we are, example number 3, which is another house in Portugal. Let's see where that is. It is actually in a town. It's relatively close to Évora, which is a very nice city, and not extremely far away from Lisbon, but at a very inexpensive price. As you can see, 49,000 euros for 158 square meters of built area. Here we have some photos. Looks alright, nothing special. But remember, that's 158 square meters of built area in Portugal for you to enjoy the countryside of this lovely country. And then we go to the last example, which is a specific one. You understand why in a second. This is an apartment in Lisbon, in the Baixa area, which is one of the most popular areas of Lisbon. But the price is 300,000 euros for just 33 square meter of built area. And here you can see the difference between Lisbon and other areas in the country. I consider this as a very poor investment because you're paying up to 10 euros, almost 10,000 euros per square meter. Even though the apartment looks lovely, I do not see how this can be a good investment long term, and I do not see that prices will keep rising in Lisbon to actually sustain this kind of price as a good investment. But that's it for the examples. So now let's go back to the studio to talk about the golden visa for property investors in Portugal. Back to the studio. Now we're going to talk about some considerations when buying a cheap house in Portugal if you're going for a secluded area in which the property prices tend to be the lowest. First of all, you need a car. If you are living in one of these secluded areas, the public transportation is not the optimal one. There are not many lines, if at all. It will also be difficult to find tenants. If you are thinking about an investment or an Airbnb, maybe you can do an ecotourism option, but I'm not really sure how viable this is as an investment. Then the property will also have very low liquidity in case you want to sell it in the future. So if you are retired and you want to live in this house forever, very good option, very inexpensive, but if you're considering to sell it later, might not be the best option. And finally, you can probably bargain the price heavily, since you know there are not many buyers, and depending on how desperate, let's say, the seller is, how much in a hurry he is, you can actually get a much lower price than what the property is listed for. Now, in the last part of this video, we're going to talk about the golden visa in Portugal for real estate investors. The minimum requirement is 500,000 euros for any type of residential property, but it can be a lower investment in some cases. It can be reduced to 350,000 euros if the real estate fits some criteria, like being older than 30 years, or there are some other criteria in which your real estate minimum requirement for the golden visa can be lowered. It can even go as low as 280,000 euros if we're talking about real estate in areas with low population density. But make sure that the area you are considering, the government will apply your lower requirement if that's the case. There are other classes of investment to get the Portuguese golden visa, which are not related to real estate, but we won't cover them in this video. Maybe in the future, in some next video, you can also invest in a company. There are some other options, but let's keep it to real estate in this video. You can buy one or multiple properties. You don't have actually to just buy one property to get your golden visa in Portugal, and you can renew it as long as you maintain the investment in the country. Another advantage here is there is a minimum time you need to stay in the country, but it is very, very low. For the first year, you just have to spend 7 days in Portugal to renew the visa, and then it gradually grows, but not by much every year. I believe in the third year it's 14 days or something like this. After 5 years, you can apply for permanent residency in Portugal, which in my opinion is the best deal to get permanent residence in the European Union with a very low minimum stay. So you can live in the US, work and have your life. Every year you go for a holiday in Portugal, spend your 1-2 weeks there, you can renew then your residency in Portugal. After 5 years you get your permanent residency, and then after you live 1 year as a permanent resident in Portugal, you can apply for citizenship and become a Portuguese citizen, a citizen of the European Union. So that's it for today's video. If you're considering moving to Portugal, write a comment below, contact me. And as always, if you want to travel, move or invest abroad, hit the like button, check our other videos. We have plenty of videos about Portugal. Book a consultation call with me. I can help you to go from where you are at the moment to the country in which you plan to reside. And most importantly, the most important thing of them all, the most important phrase I will say in this video, which is subscribe! See you next time!